very good job in your video there. I think with number 2, at least what I observed, I think the chord change, I think it was going from like the E5 to the D5 because of that jump, and also because right after that upstroke. My guess is that's why number 2 was much slower than the others. Pretty sure you'd have no problem getting the strumming up a lot faster if the chords were a bit different. So this was what number 1 this week is going to work on. It's going to focus on changing chords and like after the upstroke while you're changing strings and frets. And yeah, so here we go. Number 160. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now normally we would go from like a D5 to a C5 like that if it was, just those 2 chords. But I'm having you jump that far down to train your hand to get better at those bigger jumps with the chord changes. Alright, so continuing on, 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to 180 for the repetitions. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Damn it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, new rhythm. Well, actually, no. This one's not the new rhythm. Number 3 will be. So this is a combination of some of the rhythms that you've been working on. So each bar is different. So here is a really good example of why we want to be able to say the rhythm as we're playing it, because it's constantly changing. Every bar is different. So make sure you can say this well before you add all the chords. But every bar is a rhythm you have done. So back down to 60. For this first count in, I'm going to say the entire rhythm. So I'll count off 4, then say the entire rhythm, and then begin playing. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 4. 1 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2 and 4. 1 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4 and done. 120. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 4. 1 and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3 and 2, 3, 4 and done. 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 180 for the repeats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good Lord. Ah, that was distracting. Okay, so I sent over, or also made this, like another way of looking at this. So this is exactly the same rhythm as this. So remember, all of these eighth notes tied to eighth notes, at least for the first 3 bars, we can do the exact same rhythm using the quarter notes instead of the eighth note tied to the eighth note. And we don't have the quarter note here being able to be used here because we're going across the bar line. So this has to be an eighth note tied to an eighth note for that part. But all of these other eighth notes tied to eighth notes within the bar, you can also do this as the quarter notes. So you can use either this one or this one for reference. Probably a good idea to go between the two. So this way you can start getting used to seeing this this way of writing out the rhythm. Because eventually when we do get to legato, you know, your hammer-ons, pull-off, slides, that's how the notation will look the entire time. Alright, let's move on to number 3, the brand new rhythm. So, the strumming pattern, or rhythm pattern, it goes across these 2 bars. And then we repeat that same rhythm down here. And we have one of these that we were just talking about, an eighth note tied to an eighth note. So the upbeat of 1 is tied to the downbeat of 2. Well, here we represent that with just a quarter note because it is the same length of time. Here, well, that ends up being the same thing because we are crossing the bar line. So we have to do an eighth note tied to an eighth note. So, all open 5th chords or power chords. So we got the E5 to start and the A5, and I am using my thumb over the top of the neck to gently touch the E string to mute it out. So don't put a lot of pressure. We don't want that. Just enough to make sure that it's not ringing out. Same thing for the D5. I'm going to use these 2 fingers for the D5. Thumb comes over the top for the E and the A string to mute. Again, just gently touch it, barely any pressure at all. So we're going from this to this, but we don't want this. It's a nice sounding chord, but we don't want that right now. And then we go into this form of a G5. So the middle finger is going to be on that 3rd fret of the low E string, and you're going to barely, gently touch the A string to mute it out. So this way it sounds like this when you strum it, instead of this. That's actually a G suspended second. We don't want that right now. So we gotta just angle that middle finger just the right way to make sure we mute the A string. And so, why is that a G5? It looks so much different than the other power chords, right? So, tiny bit of theory here. A 5th chord, or power chord, is a 2-note chord. So like the E5 there, you're playing an E and a B. So when we're eventually able to get into theory, get more into the theory side of things, you got to learn a major scale. So 3 notes per string major scale is going to start off by looking like this. So that's just going through your natural notes right there, starting on C, going C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So a C5 chord would be playing the C note and the fifth note of the C major scale at the same time. That's known as the fifth interval. So the fifth note in the C major, or the fifth note in a major scale, is always the fifth interval. And then for the 3-string version, that's just an octave of the root note. Those are both C notes. So that's a root note, fifth interval, root note again. So at the E5, it's the same idea. We're playing the root note, fifth interval of E, root note again. The A5, same idea. Root note, fifth note in the A major scale, octave. Same thing with the D5, root note, fifth interval of the D, octave of the root note. And then here, G and D are the two notes that make a G5. You can duplicate those two notes any which way you want. It's still a G5. So here we got G, D, G, D, and G again. So we got 1, 2, 3 G's and 2 D's. So it's a big old fat sounding G5 chord. Alright, that being said, let's get into it. 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 3, 4, and 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 3, 4, and 2, 3, and 4. 120, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 3, 4, and 2, 3, and 4, 1, and 3, 4, and 180. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And 180 for the repeats. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That was terrible. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, any questions come up, let me know, and I will see you again next week.